In my book, Table Talk, Parsha Matot, question: what is the difference between an oath and a vow? And so, according to our sages, there are two types of vows. In one type, a person will state that something is forbidden to him. For example, if a person had said that apples were forbidden to him, then he will be unable to eat apples. The other type is that which one states obligating himself to do something. For example, one states that he will give charity to a particular organization. The emphasis is placed upon the subject, the object. As for an oath, one can do either prohibit something from himself or require himself to perform a specific act. The emphasis here is on the individual who states the oath. By declaring a vow, the object's status has changed, as in our example of the apple, where it is now in a state of being forbidden to him. By making an oath, he has placed himself in a position where he has obligated himself to do or not do something. So the subject, the Mishnah, and the subject here, it's different type of Nedarim, vow. For example, when someone is in an act of great anger. So the Mishnah said, we are on the very bottom of page 42b. Hamudar hana'a mechavero. If someone made a vow that he have nothing to do with the fellow, it's all kind of personal issue between the two, so he made this type of neder. So basically in that language he forbids himself to benefit from the other fellow. Lo yash'ilenu velo yish'al mimeno. He cannot lend from him an articles, and he may not borrow articles from his fellow. Lo yalvenu velo yilve mimeno, which is he may not lend him money because he put himself under this restriction of vow, and he may not borrow money from him. So it's the Ran, Rabbi Nisim explained that we have to differentiate between borrowing or lending. Borrowing, it's like animal in those days or utensils. Money, you don't return the same item. When you borrow an animal in those days, a cow, you return a cow. You borrow a utensil, you return utensils. So that's the item itself. Versus money, you return the amount of money you borrow, not the money itself. So they said velo imkolo, velo yikach mimeno. Also the other way around, he may not sell to him and may not buy from him, because again, as we said, the Torah put a clear restriction: whatever come out of our mouth, we shall follow. 43. Gemarrah bishlama lo yalvenu dekamehanele ela lo yilvehemenu mai kamehanele. We understand if you're talking about someone who's make this type of vow, and the vower may not lend money to the other guy because he has the benefit him, because in a sense, when you are lending money, you have, according to the rabbi's mindset, even it was all good term and condition and return on time, it's still a kind of joy, kind of benefit, that you are the person who lend money to someone else. And but the other way around, lo yilve mimeno, but the vower may not borrow money from the subject of the neder, is hard to understand. Mai kamehanele. So the Tosfot and the Mefaresh ask, what exactly he benefit from him by borrowing from him. So they said, ubishlama lo yalve imenu velo yikach imenu dekamit hanele. We understand that you say that he shall not borrow money from him and he may not buy from him, because again, he does benefit from the vower through these type of interactions. But he said, ela lo yish'al mimenu, when it's come to a borrow article from the other fellow, maika mithanele, what exactly he has a benefit from doing it. The subject of Neder benefit from the vower by lending him certain items. אמר רבי יוסי ברבי חנין כדון שנטרו הנאה זה מזה. Here is a case that in the Mishnah that both parties each declare a neder prohibiting themselves to benefit from the others. So here this is a cross issue from both parties, because here you see that each party prohibited the other side not to do anything from the others. So that's not only a lending, it can be other things. The Keren Orah explained that when it comes to this Maaseh Kinyan, this type of transactions, it can go in a double way in both parties. If you remember, when we study Avodah Zarah, we talk about the season, the era of idolaters, when they basically take the money and worship. And 3 days before those days, we are forbidden to do this type of transactions. So the same question applies. The rabbi said that the moment you lending money, even the fellow return the same amount of money on time by merely fact that you are lending, or meaning if the idolater lends you, that cause him a type of fun, of joy, of benefit. Anyway, Abaye goes different direction. Abaye amar gzera lish'ol mishum le'ash'il. It's only one party is forbidden from the other, but the idea is that the rabbis put a boundary. They enchanted a degree not to borrow from the subject of the vower, because it is a possibility that this will be the next stage. You know, rabbis put always these boundaries that lead the vower to lend him articles, and you see all of them that have this type of decree. The Ran said that this specifically applies to borrowing or lending, because many people doesn't know that that's an issue. But the rest of type of anaot is different. In general, the question of heter iska, when you borrowing money with all the papers from a fellow Jew and the issue of interest, it's a big discussion among the poskim based on this Gemara. The next Mishnah, the Meiri said, is not necessarily part of this discussion, but it's kind of by the way. Amar lo hash'ileni paratcha, amar lo ena pnuya. Typical. One said to his fellow, lend me your cow. And the other person said to him, my cow is not available. So he gets so mad, so angry at him, and he said, Amar, konam sadeh shani choresh ba leolam. So the one seeking to borrow the cow responded so angrily, plowing my field with this cow is konam forever. So he basically, or sheini according to Tosfot, he basically put a boundary against anything to do with this guy. So here is a discussion, how you derive from that. He said, if that person who asked for his manner is to plow, so he is prohibited and the others allow. But if it is not his habit to plow the field himself, so then both he and everyone else is forbidden to plow the field with this cow. So even that language was only for himself, you go by the language that he meant. We always said you go by the intent and the language, not specifically in that expression the Meiri said. The Rosh said, Hu mutar v'chol adam asurim, which means he intend to have everyone else but not himself. But later on in his psakim, the Rosh said the same as the Ran, that is prohibited. Anyway, the Ben Ish Chai have a discussion over that. A person who's have this manner of drinking. He's drinking liqueur, and he realized that it created a lot of trouble. So he made a vow not to drink liqueur. So the question is, according to this statement in the Mishnah, is that applies now that he cannot make a wine for Kiddush, he cannot drink beer, or it's only for the liquor? You have a discussion over that based on this Mishnah. Hamudar hana'a mechavero. There are certain situations that one, he has make a statement that he is have anything to do with his fellow. Ve'ein lo ma yochal. So, but he has nothing to eat. So the one who make this expressions, he has a rachmanos, he have compassion on him. He wants to give him something to eat. So what did he do? הולך אצל החנווני ואומר לו, איש פלוני מודר ממני הנאה ואיני יודע מה אעשה, והוא נותן לו, הוא בא ונותן מזה. So basically he goes to the grocery store owner and he said, look, this fellow is prohibited to derive benefit from me, and I have no idea what to do. So then the grocery store owner give him, and then he takes money from him to pay the other fellow. So it's a big discussion among the rabbis how exactly this implication take effect. What exactly involved here? Because you're basically paying him, or you gave him the money, you just circumvented it by giving it to the grocery store owner. Anyway, haya beito livnot, so it means that this fellow needs to build their house, no money, and the other fellow wants to give him, but they are prohibited each other. Gdeiro ligdor, sadeu liktzor, you need to put a fence around his estate, or a plow his field. הולך אצל הפועלים ואומר, איש פלוני מודר ממני הנאה ואני יודע מה אעשה, ואין עושים עמו ובאים נותנים שכר מזה. So basically he said to the laborer, this fellow is prohibited to do work for me, to derive benefit from me, and they go and do work, and then he pay them directly if he wish to pay them. At the beginning we thought the Ran said that it's only applied to food. Now you see that it's even for building. היו מהלכים בדרך ואין לו מה יאכל. If they are walking, they're traveling together on the road, and he does not have what to eat, and the person, say, forbidden to benefit, wants to share the food with him. So what did he do? So they said, נותן לאחד לשום מתנה. He gives to one person for the sake of like he giving a gift. ועלה מותר בה, and it is the person he allow to since it's a gift, to eat it. ואם אין מים האחר מניח על הסלע או על הגדר, ואומר הרי הם מופקרים לכל מי שיחפוץ ולא נוטל ואוכל. If there's nobody else involved, he put it on some place, spot, and he said, this is ownerless, and therefore the other fellow can come and pick it up. So it's like from the hefker. So according to the Ran, you see it also in the Choshen Mishpat in 273, by just expressing in word without Maaseh Kinyan, without physical act of transactions, it's already taking effect. Rabbi Yossi so Rabbi Yossi prohibited to feed that fellow, prohibited to derive benefit just by declaring hefker, but Tosfot said if he gives it as a gift, is allowed. The Khatam Sofer, based on that, said we have to remember that there are two types of hefker. For example, if you have a ger shemet, if you have a convert that passed away, so if there's nobody else in his family, that estate is an hefker. So or the whole concept of Kabbalat Kinyan, Shimon is basically hefkir lechem, he give away his bread, and then Reuven, Zacha, he can collect it just by collecting from the hefker. Amar Rabbi Yochanan ma'itama de Rabbi Yossi, kassavar hefker kematana. מה מתנה עד דעתיה מרשות נותן לרשות מקבל? אף הפקר עד דעתה לרשות זוכה. You make a comparison between ownerless hefker to a gift. The same way that the transaction between the party happen only when it's transferred to the domain of the other party. So therefore here the same thing. He is owning it as long as he is in his estate. The moment that he transfer to the other fellow's estate, he is no longer having access to that. Mativ Rabbi Abba, V'ala notel v'ochel. Rabbi Abba said, and since he put the food on that stone, that rock, and offense, and declared that it's hefker, it's ownerless, so therefore the other fellow can pick it and eat. Rabbi Yossi said that it's prohibited. Amar Rabbi Yossi, Matai, Rabbi Yossi said, you know when I'm hold this prohibition? Bizman shenidro kodem lehefkero. If you have the manner of vow, the neder was first preceding this manner of ownerless. So you, the one who take, for example, the loaf of bread, who remove it from the estate of Shimon, and that's prohibited. 43b, אבל אם היה הפקרו קודם לנדרו, but if he predated the ownerless before making the vow, הרי זה מותר, it's permitted, ואי אמרת את דעתי לרשות זוכה, if you tell me that the reason of Rabbi Yossi, because this hefker is not departed from his domain until he reached the domain of the one who acquires it. מה לי נדרו קודם להפקרו? מה לי הפקרו קודם לנדרו? So what's the difference for me if this declaration that the food is ownerless predated his vow or not? So anyway, the item remained in the possession of the owner, and the one who benefit is forbidden to derive any benefit from it. That's the way the Ran and Tosfot explain. Why the hefker before the neder is allowed, as long as he does not have the zikayon, he doesn't have the acquirement, so it's still in his domain. Hu motiv lavu meshanela. He basically responds the same as he asked. Kol hanoder en da'ato al ma she'ifkir. When one declare neder, his intent is not for something that is already ownerless. So as a result, you see here that food that he declared ownerless before making this type of neder is not forbidden as the result of the neder. So in a sense, you see here that the Ran explained, and the Rosh also said, you go by the mindset of the one who makes the so in a sense it's like hefker is the same as a gift for that purpose, because he made it on already on something that is already ownerless. The Shvut Yaakov asked based on that question something we mentioned in the past. If someone was it's an incident that happened, so he said, the Shvut Yaakov said that it was doing Rosh Hashanah service and someone make a vow that he will stay until the end of the service, and then all of a sudden it was a darshan, it was someone who came and give a speech, and again he goes by the idea that the person meant to say by the end of the service. He doesn't have in his intent that he's a speaker, is a speech at the end. So based on this Gemara, so Mativ Rava. Now a little introduction. Gemara said in Gittin, page 13, that when you have Shchiv Merav, someone who's about to pass, so you take his word the same as it was written, even without manner of acquisitions. When he said that this estate go to someone, so it's go to that person, but if he turn to be better, then he can change his mind, he can have it back, because the Rambam explained in L'chot Zchiyah Matana, chapter 8, that he intended to say, if I is no longer among the living, then that estate go to that person, but he doesn't meant in his statement regardless. So versus if a person give a gift as matnat bari, as someone who is well, he give it to someone else, that needs to have ma'aseh kinyan, a manner of acquisition between two partners. So the Gemara elaborate on Bava Kama 148 that all of that it's conditional that he follow up. So Mativ Rava, if you have someone who deliver his estate while he is very ill, miktsatan larishon v'chulan lasheni, he said some of my estate go to the first person, and he said everything to the second one. Rishon kana, sheni lo kana, the first one that he gave some acquisition, he basically get everything, that even if the sick person recovered, but the second person did not acquire anything if the sick person recovered. So you see here that the sick person made his gift to the second person. We assume that he intended to include in it even the possession that he had already bequeathed to the first person. So the Tosfot and the Rosh go by that way, but the Ran said Sheni zachal lishta'abed larishon. So it means that again it's all go by the mindset of the one who made this declaration. So basically we rejected the view of Rabbi Yochanan and we go in different direction the view of Rabbi Yossi. Amar Rava hainu tama de Rabbi Yossi gzera mishum matnat beit choron. So the Gemara explained, you see it later in the Mishnah, in Gemara later in 48, it was a fellow that had the issue with his father. He made a vow that has nothing to do with his father, etc., etc. Then he wants to give to his father something. So what did he do? He basically gave it to the third party, and he declared it as a gift. But his intent was not really to give him as a gift. It was a way to circumvent the system and give it to his father. So basically the big question is, what is this? Is that a gift? Is that an honorless? How you treated that? The same question posted Baruch Tam. It's a book because he asked, how about mechirat chametz, selling the chametz? How you treated based on this? Because the way you're selling the chametz, you see many stories in Jewish history that people, informal, go to the ruler, the king, and say the Jews don't pay taxes for the chametz. And the king laughed and he said, what do you mean? It's not a real sale. So the Khatam Sofer have always view that we should treat it as a very serious manner of acquisition. So when it's come to Mechirat Chametz, others will not take it as just chucha v'itlula, but something serious, a transaction between two parties, that you're transferring your Chametz from one domain to another based on this sugya too.
ויחם לשולוים מלאכי השולוים מלאכי